Slippery, eh?
Southern California, yeah.
Born and raised our DNA. Laugh and cry to what we say. We hit you with that wordplay.
4053.
What episode are we on? D, they feeling like they be zombies, all dressed in Abercrombie.
SoCal DNA coming in live. 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night. COVID got you sitting inside. Why not sip one and free your mind?
Cheap thrills, popping pills, stack cash, spend it fast.
Listen to all of Don's lies as Arjun act like he's surprised.
Well, old friend, it has been quite some time since we have gotten together like this. I gotta ask with the first question that's on my mind. How are you, Don?
I'm doing good, man. I'm glad to be back. Glad to be back. I feel like it's been a minute. It's been a minute, and I think I can't even use my fingers to count how long it's been. Because, well, I don't know the number, but feels like it's been forever, man. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic on this, very special day. You know what episode number this is, Don?
Oh, it's got to be maybe in the 40s?
My friend, we are on episode number 50.
Ooh!
Yes.
Wow.
I know.
Wow. Oh, it's a special episode then.
It
we
is
gotta do something special.
We gotta do something special for sure. And it is one of those episodes that is very rare now, unfortunately. I mean, for our fans, our legions of fans, and our subscribers are probably dwindling, by the way. I haven't checked our count most recently, but we may be down to about 20 or 30,000, but that's still good. Not as high as our... That's right. The last time Don and I were together on a podcast was back in April 18th. Can you guys believe that? That's such a long time ago.
Wow.
And of course, there was this kind of a special episode in between then where I brought in somebody with that happened to have the same first initial as Don. So it was still technically SoCal DNA, but not authentically. Not authentically.
It was a lowercase d.
It was a lowercase d, that's right. But, shout out to Derek. He held down the fort for that one night. But he was really looking forward to talking to you, man. And,
man.
he was a little disappointed when I told him, Don had some other engagements to, attend to, but...
Well, he doesn't know what he's missing out. I mean, just spending time, that solo time with PA is a fantastic thing. If you could get that, ooh, you're in for one.
There you go.
I can't ask for a better thing, a better gift. After now 3 months, I was just looking at the calendar. I didn't even know July was a 7. I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
In 3 months? Fuck.
It has been some time, and in those 3 months, a lot of things have happened in the world, and I think since we mostly talk about the NBA and basketball, we might as well get right to it. Let's talk about your reaction to this epic playoffs that happened, all the different upsets, all the different injuries, and the final result, crowning Giannis Antetokounmpo with his first ever NBA championship and the second ever for the Milwaukee Bucks. How did you like the playoffs overall this year? How did you like Milwaukee winning it in the end?
Well, it was terrible, man. I mean, the Lakers should have taken it all the way. First off.
Good answer.
All right? I mean, as a Laker fan.
Sure.
It hurts. It hurts when our purple and gold don't make a big run for the money. So I gotta at least say that and preface everything with that before getting into the excitement that the NBA playoffs gave us all postseason long. I think once the Lakers were cut out, I was all anti-Clippers, anti-Brooklyn. Thank you, NBA, for giving me that this season.
Sure.
And, there was, once you get over the fact that your team's not on there, it becomes exciting because you watch basketball for what basketball is, I think. And at least, I followed the Suns afterwards because as somebody who wants the team that took out my team to keep on going, they definitely paid dividends on that one. And they made me a healthy amount of cash.
I'd say so.
Yes. But it was exciting. I mean, if we go straight to, throughout the postseason, there were a lot of upsets. I don't know when it comes to the, the fantasy group, if anybody even had it close to being right. I think a lot of people didn't anticipate what had transpired to actually happen. But again, we're biased because we are mostly in Southern California, so I'll say that. But when it came to the Suns and the Bucks, I think for this season, I couldn't ask for a better finals showdown. It was, the
Mm.
Guardian Chris Paul, the
Mm.
mantle, the point god himself,
Yes.
was
Yes.
ushering this young up and coming team,
Mm.
hosted by our buddy Monty. He's our buddy. He's our buddy
What? Okay.
Monty.
What makes him our buddy?
Um,
What makes him our buddy? You keep stressing
that's,
that.
it's a long story, long story. So, we're on a short, tweet schedule right now. So just leave it as buddy. He's our buddy, man. Well, what else would he be to you? First off,
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to understand. Like, was he ever a Lakers assistant coach? Was he ever, close to one of the players on the Lakers? Not really, right?
I mean, pretty sure, pretty sure.
Okay.
Look it up. Look it up, everybody. Look it up. There's 20, 30,000 of you listening, so
Yeah.
I'm sure one of you guys will find out that reference that I'm hinting at. Against your Bucks, and I think everybody's Bucks, everybody's kind of wanted to root for Giannis because Giannis was that rare icon of today's NBA that decided to stick it through in a mid-market team. I would
Mm.
say small market team even for Milwaukee, honestly.
Mm.
Um, where he's had the opportunity, he could have gone anywhere he wanted to, so long as the rules um, allowed it.
Mm-hmm.
But he decided to stick it out and stay old school and stay true and get that kind of like street cred that you know you didn't turn your back on the team, and he ended up doing what he promised the city. So he is forever enshrined for the city of Milwaukee, unlike what others have done, where they've had to come back to get their city a championship. And now he's free to do whatever the hell he wants because I think he's solidified himself as one of the top three, top two, to some people, top one players in the league,
Mm.
yeah, or in the world in general. But I'm happy for him. As sad as it was not running the mill against some people in bets, to see Milwaukee do it
Uh-huh.
and to see Giannis get it was, I'm not gonna be mad about it. It hurts a little bit because Chris Paul was so close, and I did want him to be able to get that ring because I feel like this was his best opportunity to do it.
Sure.
Um, especially with how his body is holding up. Who knows if injuries are going to plague him for the rest of his career? I don't see him retiring anytime soon.
Mm.
Um, but it's a lot of money to pay for him, depending on if he wants to join a team or continue to ride with the Suns and take a little salary hit in order to bring on some additional help or additional pieces
Mm.
to push for another run at the title. But what do you think, Ben?
Well, I mean, yeah, I echo your sentiments. Obviously, in the very beginning, I think we were all rooting for the Lakers. We were hoping that they could win another title, go back to back, just like Kobe's Lakers with Pau Gasol, Andrew Bynum, and Lamar Odom. But alas, it was not meant to be. Injuries plagued us throughout the season, and even at the end in the playoffs, AD, he gave it the old college try, but it was just too much for him, and he
Mm-hmm.
couldn't finish the game. So, it wasn't our year. I always think of how precious time is, especially with great, great players. And LeBron, we don't have him forever. We got him in the twilight of his career. Some would argue that he's still the best player in the world.
Yep.
And Don, of course, fully, wholeheartedly agrees with that. I think, for LeBron's legacy, the fact that he was able to give us one title is great. And I'm always going to be grateful for him for being able to do that. But I just don't know if another title as a Laker is in LeBron's future. I know there's a bunch of these rumors talking about Kyle Lowry potentially wanting to become a Laker now. DeMar DeRozan as well, thinking about joining the Lakers. There's a bunch of these trade ideas, possibly involving Bradley Beal. For me, I always hear about this, and you and I both know. Every summer, there's a ton of rumors, and what it boils
Sure.
down to is the Lakers are going to get every single All-Star in the league. They're going to get Westbrook. They're going to get, DeRozan, Lowry, everybody now. It's going to be just a team of All-Stars. But ultimately, that doesn't always happen. We've been fortunate enough to be able to trade for AD. We were in the right position to get LeBron James. thanks to the efforts of Magic Johnson back then, and of course LeBron himself. He did want to become a Laker. I think that's, paramount. But I also look back. I mean, I know you mentioned Chris Paul and how we both were kind of saddened for him because this may have been his best shot at a title. I look back at that opportunity the Lakers had, to have Kobe play alongside Chris Paul in the backcourt. I remember that day, man. I mean, for a good 2 hours, that trade was official. That trade was legit. And I remember talking to my friends back then, and we were thinking, wow, this is it. This is a new dynasty now. We're going to win multiple championships. We got Chris Paul, one of the best up-and-coming, or even established at the time, point guards in his prime, coupled with Kobe Bryant. This can only be good. But then David Stern had to come through at the end and say, nah, given the situation of the team, the NBA, the Board of Governors collectively are controlling the fate of the, I forget if they were the Hornets or the Pelicans at the time, but maybe they were the Pelicans. They said no to the trade. They vetoed it. And ultimately, Chris Paul went to the, Don's second favorite team, the LA Clippers.
Whoa. Oh, hey, I don't know if you heard, but I said anti-Clippers earlier, so, I mean,
well, you're
Stop throwing shade. Stop throwing shade.
You kind of have a fluid relationship with Chris Paul. Sometimes you love him, sometimes you hate him. So I put you in the category of a Clipper adorer early on. But, I'll tell you this much. I always liked Chris Paul ever since he came to LA in general, because that gave me an opportunity to watch him live. Clipper games were like a third of the price of Laker games back then. And even to this day, like, they may still be a third of the price. I'm not quite sure. They made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. They're probably going to hang a banner for that. And, the ticket prices, I was looking at them, for courtside, it was less than $1,000. And you can only imagine for Lakers, when they go to the Western Conference Finals, their ticket price is easily a couple grand, 3,000. So that disparity always remained. And because of that, I had the pleasure of going to multiple Clipper games, watching Chris Paul, watching Baron Davis even before him, Blake Griffin, Eric Gordon, and those cats. And I grew to become a legitimate fan of Chris Paul. And to know that he was so close this year, so close. He actually made it to the finals. I really wanted him to win. Even though I was betting against him in real life, I actually bet money for the Milwaukee Bucks to win, and fortunately that worked out for me. In the net sum of things, I didn't really win. I think I lost too many bets throughout the playoffs to my co-host over here. But, man, I just feel so bad for Chris Paul, and he took it on the chin, like the man that he is. He wasn't really, crying or anything at the end of the game. He was, just taking it on the chin and just moving forward and saying, you know what, I'm not done yet. He's not retiring, like you said, and he'll try to give it a go next year. I hope he comes back to Phoenix. I hope he continues with Devin Booker and Ayton and Mikal Bridges and builds off of this tremendous season. And, going briefly back to Monty Williams for a second, I know you mentioned him. I still don't get the reference you're making about, why he's our buddy, but did you notice that Giannis Antetokounmpo, he actually invited Monty Williams to the Milwaukee Bucks locker room after Game 6 just to give them a speech? Did you know about this?
Oh, I did not. What did he say?
It was very cool, actually. I mean, he essentially said, thank you to Milwaukee Bucks, thank you to Giannis for making him a better coach. He was grateful for the opportunity to go against this very, very, defensive-minded and competent team that, more than deserves the championship. But it forced him to think strategically, forced him to, find new avenues. And he wasn't successful, sure, but it challenged him. And I think Monty Williams, being the good guy that he is, it was cool of him to see that. It was cool to see that in general. And Giannis even turned down the music in the locker room. He told everybody, hey, guys, let's be respectful. I mean, the coach of the other team is coming through. Let's not, rub anything into his face. Let's just be legit about this. And that's something I think you and I both appreciate about Giannis. He's not quite like other superstars in the NBA. Not necessarily flashy. He can be fun and goofy at times, as we know, especially with his dancing and his antics, time and time again, on and off the court. But he's such a humble guy. Wouldn't you agree? He's really down to earth.
I think so, and I think he achieved what he set out for,
Mm,
what he spoke to existence,
sure.
and he, he could be that now. He's done that. Now it's all gravy. It's been gravy for his career, to be honest. This was just that last little, that one sprinkle needed to complete that Sunday of his.
Oh, bro, I don't even look at it like a sprinkle. I think this was everything for him. I think this championship is more meaningful than both MVPs and the
Well,
Defensive Player of the Year.
which I get, and what I meant was, or what to clarify, it's his. We knew him to be great.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was no doubt in our mind, regardless of whether he won a championship or not,
Mm-hmm.
that he was going to be a Hall of Famer, right? And to me, that's why it's only a sprinkle. On top of that, it kind of hurts because it's going to Milwaukee. So, yeah,
Mm.
another COVID year. Another COVID year. Yeah.
So do you think people will remember this year as another COVID year?
No.
Mm.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I haven't heard any analysts say anything of it. And I think, unfortunately, being a fan of the Lakers seem to always get the short end of the stick whenever there's something to be said.
Sure.
And rightfully so, because we're a big market team, and honestly, we sold all of our assets in order to win a championship. Some people, it's a buy championship. So I don't think this year they're going to say anything is COVID. They're going to say probably injury prone year because a
Mm.
lot of people got hurt.
Mm.
But the thing that
Oh, well, this is a little bit awkward. It looks like we have some internet difficulties at the
is
moment.
3 times 6, when he was doing that, you're like, you forget that he was even injured to begin
Yes,
with,
that's right.
right?
That's right.
And like I didn't have one thought. Maybe going into it, pregame, people are talking about it and all that. But at that, when the game went on, it was just whispers, if that. Um,
Mm.
Compounding that with his performance of Game 6, that is a ridiculous stat line that he had. I think only what is it, like a handful of people have had that
Yeah, I
kind of stat
mean, I
line.
mean the 50 points, however many rebounds, blocks, steals, 17 of 19 from free throw. Some
Yep,
people are arguing that it's the single greatest closeout finals game performance ever.
sure. Yeah,
I haven't watched that many finals. You've probably seen more than me to make the kind of
sure.
comment, but yeah, he was amazing, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah. No, so I mean, for him, good for him. Now all the Kumpo brothers have a ring. We'll see what happens. I know he made a joke very recently. I think it was yesterday or the day before, where a reporter asked, "Oh, are you gonna go get traded now? Or what's gonna happen now since you fulfilled what you set out for?" And Giannis jokes around saying, "Oh yeah, I'm demanding a trade now. Demanding a trade. Now it's time to get more rings. I've done what I had to for the city. I want more rings." And you know, he said it in a very jokingly way, but part of me kind of believes it. He's done what he's had to for the city. He's done what he's had to for the organization. I'm sure it would hurt for him to leave Milwaukee, but I could see him going elsewhere for more money and to pursue a career similar to others, where when you're one of those top three guys in the league, you try to get in front of the TV screen to make and expand your career beyond basketball. And I don't know what goes on in Milwaukee, but I'm sure that in other big market teams, he will have that opportunity to do so. So I think now it comes down to what he wants for the rest of his life, given that his family is growing. And, does he want to be that vanguard for the city, for the small market teams, or does he want to make it big outside of basketball? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, let me ask you this question: if Giannis stays a Milwaukee Buck for the rest of his career, but
Mm-hmm.
he never wins another ring, do you
Mm-hmm.
think he how would his legacy look like? Like, would he be seen as the best Milwaukee Buck ever?
No, because you would not. I mean, ever. I mean, there's been some heavy names that have played for that organization since what was it? I think 1953 or something like that. When they opened up, I think was it Wilt that was there with them first, or Kareem was
I mean,
drafted into that team.
the way that I think that most people look at it, you look back at the first championship that they won, and I think that was with both Lou Alcindor and Oscar Robertson. So typically, what you're going to be doing is comparing Giannis's legacy to one of those two guys, and in my opinion, maybe he would be the best Milwaukee Buck if he spent his entire career over there. Because
Which
think
I
about
get, yeah, because
yeah,
because then the loyalty factor gets factored in,
that's
right? But
right,
then
that's right.
you have the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's that played for the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe if you were to take a subset and say who was the best Milwaukee Buck and not the best player for the Bucks, then possibly if he's stays the length of his career in Milwaukee. But whether or not he's the best player to ever play for the Bucks, too early to tell. Different eras. I want to talk about that.
A little bit of a cop out response there, but
Fuck yeah, dude! I don't give a fuck, dude. Nothing has changed in the past 3 months. Nothing.
I hear you. I hear you. Again, it's funny. It's funny though because you ultimately agreed with me. Like you split the question into two things, one of which I never even asked,
Sure.
and then you basically said, if we say as the Milwaukee Buck, sure, best player maybe not, but Milwaukee Buck, sure. I got you. I got you. I think. For me, I always appreciate when one player, even like the great players, spend their entire career on one team. Kobe, of course, Dirk Nowitzki, of course, and now Giannis has a chance. I know people will be clamoring for Giannis's talents for years to come because, look, the dude is only, what, 26? 27?
26.
Something like that?
26.
I mean,
26.
can you imagine? Like, he's only 26. He is literally in the beginning of his prime. Is that fair to say?
I think he's been in his prime.
Mm.
But the thing is, we haven't seen him peak yet. We haven't seen the decline. Has he plateaued? No. He's still improving. So I mean, he's definitely in his prime. How far can he take it? And I think, everybody always says that, once you hit that 27, 28 mark, that's usually when you peak. But with how far, or rather with all the advancements that have come into athletic training and just athletes taking care of themselves instead of eating double cheeseburgers all day long,
Sure.
who knows if the prime window expands? Because it certainly has for some players in the NBA, or rather, the decline from the peak has been extended, right? And it drops at a lower rate than it used to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping, someone like Giannis, hopefully, it looks like that fucker's been taking care of his body. I mean, that fucker seems to get a new muscle every year somewhere on his body that gets more and more defined. It's ridiculous. I hope we have yet to see him in his prime.
But let's kind of talk about what that means. What do you think peak Giannis looks like?
Well, he already has the freakish athleticism required to be considered in his prime, in peak prime body type. I think to really peak out for him is to expand his shooting game. He showed us a glimpse of it with his free throws in Game 6. So if he could keep that somewhat consistent, I don't expect him to hit fucking 90+% all the time. If he could get it up to like 80, right? He's 75. Ridiculous, right? Because shit, just good luck fouling him. He's gonna knock it down anyways. So what are you gonna do when he gets the ball half court and he's basically, shoveling coal into that damn heart of his, taking 2 steps to get to the basket from half court? What do you do there?
Sure.
So his shooting efficiency needs to go up. I think his mid-range game needs to be developed, and his 3 has always been weird. So just again, overall shooting efficiency, because when he's laying up or dunking, a sure thing, 90% of the time that sucker's going in unless he gets fouled. So it's hard because now we're asking him to be the complete player. And unfortunately, as someone that is a Laker fan, Giannis has the potential to become that complete player, that true point forward. I think, or scoring forward. I don't even know what you would call him. What his archetype is? It's like just Greek god archetype.
Yeah, they'll probably make a new one for 2K22.
Right? It's like you gotta like max out some what is it, 90s on all the archetypes, and then you get the Greek freak archetype.
Nah, you just go pick up some Oikos, Dan and Oikos yogurt, and you get a special code, and it says, you've unlocked the Greek god archetype for Giannis. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's only like 10 people with the lids.
That's right. That's right. It's like Willy Wonka. It's like the Willy Wonka for Greek god Giannis archetypes. But I have a slightly different opinion. Naturally, you'd expect that from me. I think if you look back at Shaq, some people thought, if only he could make more free throws, he would really be unstoppable. But he was already so dominant. He was already so effective back then. And to me, I kind of see Giannis in the same vein, where he can be the guy that carries you for like 3.5 quarters, but he's never going to be a closer in the same sense that the elite guards of today are. Like, you look at a KD, you look at a Harden, you look at a Chris Paul even. All these guys with the ball in their hands, they can hit that three. They can hit that pull-up mid-range. But Giannis will never be that dude. But that's okay. He doesn't really need to be. He showed us that there's another way to win. And, not to toot my own horn here, but I will. Many podcast episodes ago, Don, you might recall, we had a conversation with the great Leroy Tung. He was a special guest on our podcast. And I was basically telling you guys that, look, with the addition of Drew Holiday, I think the Milwaukee Bucks have the best shot to win a title this year. And even though you guys were telling me, but see, Giannis's free throws are crap, like he can't do anything without making more free throws, I was telling you it actually doesn't matter as much as you think. As long as he had...
It does, man. Because look at this last game. If he didn't make those free throws, it would have been a different game.
I disagree. I think the free throw story is a nice touch. I think it shows that he's capable of being that good from free throw line in some games. But ultimately, I don't really credit his free throw making to be the difference maker, the primary difference maker for the Bucks winning that game.
I think it was because every offensive player, whenever they see the ball go through the net and it was their doing, regardless of whether it's a free throw.
Don, you know where your argument falls apart.
It messes with the psyche.
Don, you know where your
psyche is so strong with Giannis. That's why he was able to get 50 points that game.
Well, if only the strength of your argument was as strong as the strength of your vocals right there, maybe you would have a chance in this argument. But let me just clarify one thing to you. Do you realize that Giannis didn't really shoot that great from free throw for the last 3 games before that game 6? But
and he only scored like 40. Come on, see?
So you're changing. You're changing the whole narrative then.
No, I'm just saying the positive reinforcement of seeing a ball go through the net influence,
bro,
listen,
do you realize how many times the ball goes through the net for him? He shoots like 16 of 20 in the paint,
which I get, but then whenever he misses one of those free throws, it's going to decrease that satisfaction bar. Right?
But listen, okay, satisfaction. When you start talking about a satisfaction bar in this argument,
you don't have one of those, dude. I have one of those. It's in my back pocket all the time.
I'm surprised it's not in your front pocket, but I will have to say, I will have to say one thing though. I think free throws are important. Free throws are definitely important, and I do agree with you that Giannis could go into that upper echelon if he starts making free throws, maybe at a 70% clip. He doesn't have to hit 85 or 90. That's ridiculous. But 70%, I agree with you. But what I'm trying to argue here is I see Giannis as more of the guy that carries you to the fourth quarter, but he needs to play with a guy that can be a closer, like a Chris Middleton. And he needs to be surrounded by defensive-minded teammates like a Drew Holiday. And at times, depending on if Brook Lopez is on his game or not, Lopez could be a good shot blocker too. So I like the identity of Milwaukee and how it's built around Giannis for this particular team. But moving forward, I think they'll need to rely more on Chris Middleton and Holiday to pick their games up. I hated seeing Holiday rotate between a 25-point game and a 10-point game, a 17-point game and an 11-point game. If Holiday can become more consistent, dude, that's when you have a real big three. That's when you have a team that can actually go toe to toe against a healthy Brooklyn Nets. People have been giving them a lot of shit. You know, KD was trying to carry the team. Harden, he tried to tough it out, but he had that hamstring issue still. He was like a shell of himself. Kyrie Irving was probably off somewhere meditating or doing something weird. I don't even know where he was. He didn't even show up in the playoffs. I think if Drew Holiday can be more consistent, if Chris Middleton can be more consistent, the Bucks as is have a great shot at repeating, and Milwaukee doesn't really need to do much else. Would you put them as the front runner in the East for next season?
I think you have to. Whenever a team comes back with a chip, you have to put them up there, at least in the conversation. So 100% fully agree with you. And I didn't like or I didn't think highly of Middleton or Holiday, but as PJ Tucker now famously says, these guys are dogs. These guys are dogs. They just need a little bit more. And quite frankly, these guys are stars, superstars even, with all their performances, especially Middleton. So, big three, yeah, not the typical big three we're used to seeing, but definitely up there in regards to now the vanguards guarding, the trophy. So, I can't ask for better vanguards of it because they have almost a grittiness to them you don't expect in today's NBA. So, I'm happy the Bucks won. Hopefully, nothing crazy happens to their team. I hope they, come back, run it back with the same squad, maybe with some additional changes. Maybe give Bobby a little bit more. Homeboy deserves a little bit more. He's probably the fan favorite over there. He definitely is a fan favorite over there. I think one of the league's favorites now. So we'll see what happens. Off season is going to be fun. So.
And of course, speaking of the off season, this is a very special year for basketball because it's not just the NBA. We also have the Olympics going on, and we do have the Olympics going on. They were supposed to happen, of course, in 2020, but due to the potency of the pandemic at the time, we could not go forward.
Sure.
But I want to ask you this. I don't really want to focus on Team USA as much, but I want to talk about the Olympics happening in general. Are you surprised that they move forward with the Olympics, given the Delta variant's presence in Japan, and given the fact that there's already cases going on in Japan of the athletes that are there?
Yeah, no, I was totally surprised. If anything, I thought it would be if anything, this is a play for Japan or the Olympic Committee to make the money it normally does every 4 years, now 5 years, and to hopefully get back on schedule. I think prolonging it another year would not have succeeded, and for the Olympics to skip one session would have been too much, because athletes are usually train their lives for this one peak moment, right? We're not talking the freak athletes that win gold medals over a period of 16 to sometimes 20 years. I'm talking more about the athletes that have that one shot because they know after this they're done. So I'm not really surprised it's going on. I think Japan is doing its best to mitigate the risks, but given how crazy of a world we live in now with COVID running rampant and evolving, it kind of is what it is, man. It sucks that there can't be any fans that are there in person attendance, but given the digital world we live in, I think we were doing just fine. I was able to watch some ping pong earlier today. It was
Ooh,
amazing.
okay.
It was amazing. I was able to watch handball, Olympic handball. Have you heard of handball?
I used to play it in elementary school.
Oh, different kind of handball. See, that's what I thought it was, man. I was super stoked. I was like, oh, it's like four square rules, or what's going on here? Or is it like the tennis rules where it's against a wall, right? That you see all the cholos doing at the park late at night.
All the cholos do.
Right?
Okay.
But no, this handball is like a mixture of basketball and soccer. Basketball, because you have to somehow dribble the ball whenever you want to kind of, move from point A to point B and still handle the ball
Mm-hmm.
before passing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like soccer because instead of shooting it through a hoop, you kind of have to throw it into a net, which has its own respective goalie there. So it's a very, very interesting sport that I got tired of in about 5 minutes.
What?
Uh,
Why after 5 minutes? What made you sick of it
Dude,
so quickly?
I gave it a fair shot, man. I really tried. I was like, oh, interesting, cool. And then after a while, it's like, this is the same shit over and over again. I'm good. I'd rather, play some PS5 or something.
Ah, and by the
You know
way,
what?
about that, we're gonna have to talk about that after this episode.
Sure.
I got some news for you on that front.
Ooh, sheesh. I'm excited. We're
Uh,
raffling one off to the fans.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. You really set me up there, buddy. In terms of like Olympic sports that I'm kind of remotely following, I suppose. Obviously, Team USA, the basketball team, they're going to be playing on Sunday, I believe, tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. I will not be watching at that time, but I'll probably watch the highlights later on. But I'm interested in what's going to happen with them because there's this storyline that's in play involving Devin Booker and, of course, the two champions, Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton. They're going to be forced to play with each other on the same team, which is something I don't think has happened recently. I can't remember if in previous Olympics the two, finalists had players playing together like that. I don't think it worked out in that favor. Do you think there might be some drama, some beef between D Book and, let's say, Drew Holiday? Because Drew Holiday, man, stripped him like 4 or 5 times and harassed him on defense every single possession. How do you think that kind of chemistry will work out for Team USA?
Well, he didn't break his nose like Beverly did, so I don't think there's going to be any beef. I think once the season ends, you leave behind the jersey that you normally wear and you don a USA jersey.
I like what you did there. I like what you did there.
Yeah. And I don't think Booker has that type of personality to hold grudges. I think if anything, he's going to use this as a learning opportunity, as all the players are, to kind of scope out their future rivalries and learn a bit more, expand on their game, and continue to get better, while hopefully winning a gold medal and representing the overall country, not just the city that you play for. I think that on the other side, I don't think Middleton and Holiday are the type to, ram it down his throat. They might give him some shit, basically bros just dicking around with each other, saying, haha, we won. Where's your ring gonna be? You want to join our team? Stuff like that. But
Okay.
I don't think there's gonna be any beef that is gonna cause worry. The only beef I could see is if all three of them are on the court and there's a last-second shot, who do you give it to? If Drew Holiday has the ball, I'm pretty sure he's gonna dish it to Middleton.
Oh, easily,
Right.
easily. I mean,
Right.
It makes
aside
perfect
from that-
sense. Yeah, I get you. I think you're right. The personalities on the court there, they're not really meant for beefing. They're more lovers instead of fighters. And at the end of the day, Booker, I don't know if he's the type not to hold grudges. I feel like since he emulates Kobe so much, I ask myself, what would Kobe do in that situation? I think Kobe would remember the loss forever, and I think he would view Middleton and view Holiday as his enemies. But you know what they say: keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So he could probably learn a thing or two but watching them play, watching them practice, pick up on their tendencies, and go back harder with the Suns next season trying to get that chip. Now, another storyline that's kind of happening in these Olympic qualifiers and now the real Olympics themselves, what is Damian Lillard's future? Is he going to remain in Portland, or is he going to come to the LA Lakers?
I mean, I don't want to put money on it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up a Laker. There's been a lot of talks of it. I mean, Homeboy was in Space Jam.
Oh, well, man, okay, I'm going to watch that like later tonight, actually. So thank
Oh,
you
you
for...
watched it last week, man. Didn't you say you were watching it last week?
Bro, no, I watched the original. I watched the original last week.
Oh.
Damn. Well, that's okay. That's okay. Don't worry. I mean, that's not the biggest spoiler. It's not the biggest spoiler.
Well, I mean, they keep on going with it. I mean, Clay's in it too.
Oh,
so.
wow. Okay, you got to pump your fucking brakes right now, boy. You gotta slow down. You gotta slow down. Space Jam aside,
so going
though.
off that.
Okay, no.
It's one of those things where
yeah.
you know, LeBron may have been recruiting, and you know, it's an unsaid thing that happens. They're of course going to be talking. It's just, can we make the numbers work? And I don't know if we can, without making some massive trades, and taking some losses here or there. But I try not to think of what they do in the off season. I mean, LeBron is in the twilight of his career. Anthony Davis hopefully isn't as injury prone moving forward. But the Lakers need to do something, because it's not enough anymore. I think even with a healthy duo now, after seeing what's the whole postseason brought us, I don't think it would have been enough, given our crew. Unfortunately, hurts to say. I'm sorry, everyone out there, but something needs to happen. What do you recommend the Lakers do? Is Lillard the answer? Is Lowry the answer? Who's the answer?
Well, I mean, the first thing I would do is just find a way to drop off Kuzma at the nearest bus station, and just have him.
Even the bus station's gonna be like, no, thank you, no speak English, some shit like that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Kuzma, man, he's hard to find a trading partner for. Like, I think we're kind of forced to be a LeBron-centric team for now. And it's just kind of how it is. In the twilight of Kobe's career, we were forced to do the same. So we have to change the way we think about our team. LeBron is still going to be option number one. He's still going to be our best player. Then the question becomes, do we have the same confidence in Anthony Davis? I'm a little hesitant about AD, to be honest with you. I don't think AD is built like LeBron. I don't think... I hate to say this, but I don't think AD will be healthy for long stretches of his career. From time to time, I mean, we already know he's going to get dinged up, banged up, ankle injury here, hamstring strain there, elbow there, missing a game or two. But as the years go on, that wear and tear will build up, and I don't really see it getting any better for him. So what that tells me is, we need more youth, man. We need younger players that Vogel can kind of run into the ground and rely on to give AD a break, to give LeBron a break. And so when I hear things about Lowry coming to the Lakers, I don't know how to feel about that. I know Lowry is proven. He has won a chip, you know, with your boy Kawhi Leonard, LA streets all day. But ultimately, is Lowry the answer for us? Maybe short term. I think if you get Lowry, what you're doing is you're maximizing the window with LeBron. But even then, I don't think Lowry is as reliable as he once was. I liked him back when he was in Houston. I liked him when he first went to Toronto when he was with DeRozan. But now, I don't know if I can rely on him game to game. Similarly with DeRozan, I mean, you do get a guy who can give you 20 a night easily. But at what cost? You know, what do we have to give up to get both of them? We can't sign them outright. What can we really trade? I mean, it just doesn't really make sense to me from the other team's perspective. Like, why would you want Kuzma number one? Like, it's just what's the advantage there? And then what do you want? Like, you want Taylor Horton-Tucker? That's probably our best asset. But do you think it's worth giving him up? That's really the big question for me. It's $1 million question. We kept him at the last trade deadline. We were thinking of getting Lowry back then, but we didn't. Masai Ujiri really wanted Taylor Horton Tucker, THT, but we said, nah, we're going to hold on to him. Do you think now, this offseason, maybe before this week's draft, we're going to finally pull the trigger and let THT go?
Well, to be formulated opinion, I think what the Lakers need to do is put all their chips on the table and go all in for the next year or two. We only have LeBron for 2 years, and unfortunately, we're going to have to trade off young talent again in order to make a run with old, mature talent. It may work, it may not work. We have a lot of young teams that are fast and quick and can shoot the hell out of the ball. But we've dug ourselves into the LeBron hole, and we need to utilize that asset as much as possible before we begin rebuilding again. I think it's not in the Laker mentality to throw in the towel unless there's no other option but to throw in the towel. So I could see our team, our front office, making some blockbuster moves that is going to piss off the whole NBA, except for the Lakers. And that's what's going to happen. If they don't do anything, then we're going to give them shit. So they have to do something in order to at least try. I don't think trading AD or LeBron is the right move, because you could get a hell of a lot of assets for that, but I think it would be dumb to do that, both from a PR perspective and just pure talent, because they're both arguably top 10 players in the league right now, depending on how you look at it. And excluding the fact that, you know, they're kind of both injury prone now.
Yeah.
But that's what they have to do. Otherwise, we begin the, what is it, almost 10-year rebuild again to do the same thing over again. So.
No, I mean, I get that. I get that. I think you're totally right. We do have to build around the core. I just hope we get more reliable three-point shooting. I don't fully trust KCP, even though he's been with us for some time now. I don't think, you know, the Quinn Cooks of the world and, you know...
Well, Quinn Cook isn't even a Laker anymore.
Oh,
I think that fucker was dropped.
Well, I'm a little bit behind on that news then. But, you know, sure. I guess I agree with you. Let's just see what happens. Of course, whenever there's a big trade, we will discuss it. We will talk about it on the show and you know, disseminate our opinions and think about if it is truly best for the Lakers and if Rob Pelinka is doing the right thing. Time will tell. If it is Lillard, I think Laker fans will be ecstatic. If it is Russell Westbrook, which has been another name that's been floating around, I also think Laker fans will be very, very happy. But I don't know if those moves really push us over the top. Time to time, you know, you just have to get lucky. Like Giannis was, right? I mean, people, as you put it, in our league, nobody really thought that it would be Bucks versus Suns in the finals. But lo and behold, that's what happened. Not because of just by design, but by luck. Luck because they were healthier. The Suns were simply healthier than the rest in the West. And Milwaukee, overall, they're a bunch of sturdy dudes. They were healthier than Brooklyn, even Atlanta, because Trae Young got banged up a little bit at the end there. So to me, I think luck is a residue of design. You do your best. You try your best as a GM, as a coach, to build a team that really makes sense, that's really clicking on all cylinders, and you hope that you get some lucky breaks along the way. And hopefully, this time next year, we're not talking about Milwaukee winning another chip. We're talking about LeBron winning another chip, winning his 5th. And that'll be a really, really fun day for Laker fans, and can't wait until the next parade for sure. But one thing I do want to spend a little bit of time on right now. Do you know the show that Don and I watch quite often? And I'm kind of speaking rhetorically on this one. The show I'm talking about right now, of course, is Cowboy Bebop. Now, the last time I saw an episode of this show, this was episode 11, called Toys in the Attic. This was a really, really long time ago. I think back in April. And, you know, it's something that I think we should quickly touch on before we close out the episode. What do you think, Don? Can we quickly touch on this one before we completely pump the brakes for this train?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I totally watched it. So, yeah.
Ah, you didn't watch it. I thought you watched it a long time ago and
Yeah,
vaguely...
I might have.
Okay. Well, we are gonna go through it anyway. So here we go. Let's play the usual music that we like to play, and let's go ahead and cue up the music right now for Cowboy Bebop. Oh, and it looks like I don't have it queued already. Let me open up another.
Are we doomed to a cold and heartless future in which computer says yes or computer says no, with the grim finality of an emperor in the arena?
Ah, that sounds beautiful. Emperor in the arena. All right. So I basically want to do this so we make some progress on Cowboy Bebop. We can actually move this train forward. And Don, this episode in particular, you're not really missing out on much, so I'll kind of recap it for you. Essentially, do you remember the movies like Alien or Alien 2, Alien 3? The basic idea is, you know, you're up in space and there's some like foreign extraterrestrial creature that suddenly found a way into your cabin and is one by one taking out all of your crew. Essentially, this episode 11, Toys in the Attic, is paying homage to Alien and a lot of those space dramas from the past. And the way they do that is, apparently, Spike had bought some food a long time ago. It was like this very rare lobster. And he put it in a fridge in the ship's back area, and he forgot about it. He put it in back there because he thought, okay, it's going to be safe from Faye. It'll be safe from, Jet and Ed. And ultimately, he just forgot about it. And then, somehow, some way, something escaped from the fridge. And it wasn't the lobster. It was some kind of, like, weird amoeba-looking thing that was floating around the ship. And every time it came into contact with somebody, it would, like, bite them or puncture their skin and give them, like, this really, really bad infection that would eventually incapacitate them. Like, they'd be knocked out. And that kept happening one by one. And it was kind of cool because at the same time, they had these lessons. They would kind of show you each character's perspective of the episode. Like, first it was Jet's perspective. And Jet, he had lesson 1, where humans were meant to work and sweat to earn a living. Those that try to get rich quick or live at the expense of others all get divine retribution somewhere along that line. That's a lesson. Unfortunately, we quickly forget the lessons we've learned, and then we have to learn them all over again. So that was kind of an interesting setup to the episode, and Jet was the first one to get knocked out by this alien thing. And then we jump to Faye Valentine. Lesson number 2, survival of the fittest is the law of nature. We deceive or we are deceived. Thus we flourish or perish. Nothing good ever happened to me when I trusted others. That is a lesson. So it's interesting because these lessons are kind of what these characters individually believe in. And it may or may not always apply to what's happening in the episode. I kind of took it that way. Like especially lesson 3, which is for Edward, the new member of the crew. She says, lesson, if you see a stranger, follow him. Now, that's kind of an awkward kind of a lesson to learn if you're Edward. But given the crazy character that she is, I think maybe it makes sense for her. Ultimately, Faye goes down. Edward is kind of MIA for some time. Ein goes down as well. And ultimately goes down to who? Spike Siegel, our hero. His lesson says, and what was the real lesson? Don't leave things in the fridge. Because he finally made sense of it all. He realized where this alien body came from. It was his doing. He stashed this lobster from another planet in the fridge. It kind of mutated, gave off this amoeba or whatever, started wreaking havoc all throughout. So he gets the flamethrower. He's doing this like, Rambo style, just trying to shoot at it, trying to gas it up, trying to flame it on. And ultimately, he fails. And, he couldn't get it out of the ship. But lo and behold, who saves the day at the end? It was Ed. Ed was simply taking a nap. She wakes up and she eats the alien. She just kind of puts it in her mouth and goes back to sleep. And I thought that was kind of a weird way to end the episode, but to me, this felt like one of those one-offs where even if you don't watch it, it's totally fine. Like, it doesn't really contribute too much to the plot of the overall show, but it was really fun. And I hope, Don, later when you get a chance, do check it out. I know I kind of gave you the synopsis, but there's a bunch of other things that happen too that I don't really go into. But I think Cowboy Bebop is something we should finish. It shouldn't end up like Art of War, where we.
What is that?
Exactly. I think after chapter 3 or 4 out of 200, both of us were kind of tired of it. We were kind of exhausted going chapter by chapter, but my whole purpose of kind of pushing this was to basically get us back on the tracks, get the train back on the tracks, pump in the coal, and hopefully we can keep this momentum going. And I know this is a rather short episode for our viewers out there. They're probably expecting a 2-hour extravaganza, but alas, we have things to do, people to meet, places to go. So we must leave you there. But Don, since this is your first episode back in nearly 3 months' time, do you have any parting words for your beloved fans?
It feels good to be back. Hopefully we could do this more often, get on the schedule one more time. Things have calmed down in the heat of the summer. So hopefully we can keep the simmer going.
That's right. And until next time, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, dogs and cats, we will see you later. I'll catch you on the flippity flip.